I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and it's part 2 of the HTC Butterfly S versus HTC One dogfight battle. They're the best of the best in a lot of different categories, but only one can come out on top. We'll find out which one that'll be in part 2. It's part 2 of the HTC Butterfly S versus HTC One dogfight battle. HTC's two flagships, and yes, they're available in different countries depending on where you are. For example, this is unlocked in the US, not available on a carrier. This is available on a carrier, so it all depends on what you need. But that said, these are both incredible devices that are going to appeal to a lot of people depending on what you need out of a smartphone. Right here they go. Part 2, let's do this. First, we'll start off with the camera on both devices. Now, both have 4 ultra-pixel cameras with HTC Zoe capabilities. I love HTC Zoe, and if you don't know about it, we'll talk about it really briefly here. I can turn on HTC Zoe, as you see right here, and when I click camera, it's going to record a 3-second kind of short burst video, if you will. And so let's say I have one on the phone. Well, then I can come back in here and take a couple of pictures of the HTC Butterfly S, and then I'll go back into my gallery and load up right here. And then I'll say camera shots, for example. Actually, you know what? We'll go back to events and do this. And then I'll come over here to events, and you can see I've got a bunch of different stills, and I've got the video one as well. When I click on this, it creates a Zoe highlight reel, which you can see right here. Turn up the sound. And this does this on the phone side, and the Butterfly S does this as well. And you can see that I can do that. I can change around the theme. I can change around the color if I want to. And I've got that option over here as well, which is really a cool feature, and you'd think you don't use it, but when you're at a wedding, for example, or you're out with a friend on a Saturday, you take a nice combination of Zoe's, which are the video 3-second snippets, and then pictures, and it comes into a really nice little image. So both of these have 4 ultra-pixel cameras. There's no real distinguishable camera difference between either one of these devices. Jumping right back into the camera here, you can see flash, all the different options here, and then I can go into settings on both units, and you'll see on their Windows Phone devices as well, they've recently gone over to this look and feel on the 8XT, so you can actually use an HTC camera. So if you're coming from an HTC device, you can utilize the same camera look and feel and have the learning process or the learning curve not be as much. So you can see over here, night HDR, sweep panorama. You've got a couple of different options, anti-shake as well, so it'll keep your hand from shaking, or it won't keep your hand from shaking, but it'll keep it from showing on the image, I should say. Full HD video quality as well, 1080p, ISO, white balance, continuous shooting. So you've got a pretty decent image selection here. What I like about these cameras, they do a great job taking pictures up close of people. So if you have a family portrait, or maybe just you want to take that up close picture of your baby or your dog or your cat, even though those aren't people obviously, but you know what, in some families those are like people, so we're just going to roll with that. You can take really nice up close pictures. I've been so impressed with how the image quality has turned out. Despite only having a 4 megapixel camera, really impressive all around on the HTC One and the Butterfly S. So it's kind of a wash there, but you can get an idea of how the camera interface looks on both of these units. Now, right now we'll jump in, and you can see right here on the screen quadrant standard scores and see how they perform between the two. And then next you can see Antutu scores to see how they perform between the two. So take those performance numbers with a grain of salt. Not always indicative of day-to-day performance. Somebody on YouTube the other day said I give out too much salt in my videos. Well, you know what? Got to have that well-balanced diet, my friends. So be sure to check out the 30-day challenges and the reviews where I don't give out as much salt. That's all part of a healthy, balanced phone dog diet. I'm going to stop right here for a second and thank my partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like the HTC One, which actually just got a bunch of them, that we're going to give away to you for free on the site at PhoneDog.com. Free phones! Can't really beat that. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll get your email, contacts, web, all that good stuff set up. So when you walk out, you're good to go at Best Buy Mobile. So as a continuation here, Android 4.2 on the Butterfly S, Android 4.2 on the HTC One. It's rolling out to the international devices, has not quite rolling out to the AT&T, T-Mobile, and Sprint versions, so still waiting on that. But you know what? Android 4.2 brings some really nice benefits, and just briefly talking about those, you can see the percentage indicator on both of these devices right here, and then you can see things like, again, the toggles for notifications, or toggles I should say for shortcuts, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, airplane mode, screenshot, Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can easily access all of that, and of course your profile as well. Like those features a lot. I find it to be incredibly useful. That said, usability of these devices, holding this in the hand, it's definitely a big and long device. That's what she said. Big and long device right here, so you can see usability maybe with the thumb might be a little bit hard for some people. This one definitely fits better in the hand. Now that said, it's a smaller display, so if you're doing a lot of content creation like browsing the web, or I shouldn't say content creation, content consumption, like browsing the web or watching YouTube, doing things like that, it may be a little bit of a challenge. Now both of these come, we'll take a look here. We'll go back into some of the settings and see how these perform. You can see pressing home and holding it does nothing, but double tapping will activate my recent applications where I can get rid of those. And it's a customized look and feel designed specifically for Sense 5, and you can see that right here as well. Though that said, on the Butterfly S, you have a dedicated recent apps button. And then down here, I can press and hold home to access Google Now. Now you'll notice in Android 4.2 as well, that pesky menu area or menu notification down there at the bottom is gone, which is really nice on the HTC One. You don't have that problem over here as much because you've got back, home, and recent applications, and you can double them up, and I'll show you in the settings what I'm talking about. I'm going to display gestures and buttons, and I can say recent apps button is press for menu, press and hold for recent apps. So now you can get rid of that pesky menu bar that appears in certain icons that aren't holo themed. For example, Twitter up until recently had that issue, and now you don't have it as much. Not sure what it's doing. Did you see that? That was a little freaky. Anyway, maybe I clicked something. Let's go into here as well, display gestures and buttons, and then I'll come down here and see home button, and then I can swipe up or press and hold for Google Now. Swipe up for Google Now, press and hold for menu. Let's see here, swipe up. Not sure why it's not swiping. There we go, perfect. And boom, there you go. You got Google Now on this device as well with the shortcut. So still very functional, even though it only has 2 buttons as opposed to the 3 capacitive buttons over here. Now it's time to turn it over to you and answer your questions that you've asked me on Twitter, on Facebook, and more about these 2 devices. I'm going to start with, let's go down through the list here and say Rush, I can't pronounce this, forgive me, it's Rush, I believe BH Dev. Please compare the battery life, and that's something I was going to talk about towards the end of the video. 3,200 milliamp hour non-removable battery here, 2,300 milliamp hour non-removable battery over here. I should point out 16 gigabytes of internal storage, 32 gigabytes of internal storage here, micro SD card, no micro SD card. Just wanted to point that out. I did not mention that at the beginning of the video. So battery life on both of these devices is not bad. I've been, even with the HTC One and its 2,300 milliamp hour battery, HTC's done a pretty good job with power conservation, and I usually can make it through a day with even up to light heavy use, or I shouldn't say light heavy, that's probably not the best way to phrase it. Moderate to low heavy use is probably the best way to say it. When I'm traveling for work, I can still make it through the day, even though I get darn close to running out of battery life. I was in New York and used this device, and I got darn close to running out of battery life. Keeping that in mind, I've worked with the Galaxy Note 2. I've had the Galaxy Note 2 for about 6 months, and I actually just got rid of it about 3 months ago, but carried it as my personal device for a long period of time, and so I was used to that big battery that came with the unit, and that's what I see over here. This thing is incredible from a battery standpoint, and you can see the history here, and don't take this, again, take it with a grain of salt, but this has been a combination of me putting a SIM card in it, taking it out, leaving it in my drawer, working with it for a couple of minutes, putting it back in for a couple of days, but you can see here history, 12 days on battery, and it's at 11%. So really impressive here, 3,200 milliamp hour battery, same power conservation stuff as the HTC One. If battery is most important to you, which for me it is in a lot of ways, the Butterfly S is going to be the device to get. Keeping that in mind though, I'll follow that up by saying the HTC One is not bad at all and can definitely hold its own against the other high-end subsidized devices in the marketplace. Jess Harper wants to know boom sound comparison. They're both very good. Is it better or worse than the One? Which phone would I use? I think this is one of those things, and I know people hate when I say this, but you've got to take up the list of top 5 things and pick the things that are most important to you in a wireless device. For me, it's number 1, battery life, because I'm on the phone and I'm traveling all day long. Battery life, call quality, the things a lot of people don't care about, quite frankly, anymore. And so for me, the Butterfly S would be the unit. The One is gorgeous right here with the metal build quality, and the availability is far better on the HTC One. But just from a battery perspective, if I had the choice, I would probably carry this one, though I do, and I would miss my 4G LTE that I get with AT&T. So which would you say would be a better option for buying? And this is going to be the last question that I answer from Twitter. Good question, and I'm going to use that to wrap it up and finish out the dogfight. It's a tough call between these 2 devices. Which one do I think is a better value to buy? The HTC One. It's available on a lot of different carriers, not only in the US but around the world, and you can get this through T-Mobile, through AT&T, or through Sprint for subsidized pricing. If you're on T-Mobile, you can take advantage of their payment plan. If you're on AT&T or Sprint, you can take advantage of that low price, and it depends on whether you're a new customer or existing, but let's say around $199. So you're paying $200 for this device and getting a really awesome device out of the box that you can use for a long time. That said, the Butterfly S spec for spec is a better device with a quad-core processor that's clocked faster, bigger display. Needed some more coffee this morning. Bigger display here. And so for me, 5 inches, nice sweet spot. Same camera, less internal storage, but the microSD card slot gives you some nice expandability options here. If you're comparing specs, the better device all around, and who the winner of the dogfight is the HTC Butterfly S. That said, the availability, assuming you're in the US, is far better with the HTC One, and you can take advantage of the cheaper cost and pay it off over the course of 24 months of contract. The HTC One is going to be probably the better buy all around. That said, the dogfight compares all that and puts it into a pot and considers the best things all around, and the HTC Butterfly S is the best device between these two all around. Keep it locked in the site for more on both of these devices. I'm on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron. I'm on Facebook at Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker, and on Google Plus at gplus.to/PhoneDog. Thanks so much for watching. More to come from these awesome devices on the site, so stay tuned to PhoneDog.com. I'll see you next time.